All right, well, good evening. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting here of Worcester City Council here in City Hall. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025, and this meeting is live streamed on YouTube as well. It's after 7 p.m., and we're going to get started. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be November 3rd of 2025. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll of council members.
Mr. Abernathy.
Here.
Mr. Gaffey.
Here.
Mr. Huzay.
Here.
Ms. Knappich.
Here.
Mr. Malta.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Warden.
Ms. Warden had told us last meeting that she was not going to be here. We still have a quorum, and the agenda will remain as presented. At this time, I'll ask you to stand and join the members of City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have an approval of our minutes from our October 6th meeting?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Communications from the mayor. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council. Just a number of items to cover. I know you had a record, at least in recent year, for last council meeting in terms of time.
No. We were 10 minutes. Our record's 20 minutes. We were 30 minutes last time.
I did my part towards that by not attending, so, you're welcome. But I'll add a little bit on because some things happened that I want to report in the interim between the previous council meeting and last council meeting, just a few. The Main Street fundraiser went on as scheduled on the 17th, and we had a great evening for that. I know a lot of you were there. That went well. Friday that week, a little more somber occasion. We had a celebration of life for Major Mary West. I think that name probably resonates with a lot of people in town. Again, I'm showing my age a little bit, but I did quite a bit of work with her 20 and 30 years ago when the Salvation Army Center was built on South Market, and she kind of was the face of Salvation Army for a long time. The following week, we had an open house at the home of Dr. McCall to meet the College of Worcester's new president and their board of trustees. A nice event there. He's very much a type A personality, very ambitious, and he's got a lot of big ideas. Whether or not the college can pull those off or not, we're going to see, but a lot of ideas. Last week we had the briefings for business with WDC. Again, I know some of the people here were in attendance. The speaker did a critique of Ohio's regulation of the energy industry, which was interesting. That's the next day. The Chamber of Commerce had a member appreciation event at their offices that we had a contingent from the city at. Then later that evening, we did breakfast and dinner. We were over in Canton because Heritage Ohio, which is kind of the umbrella organization for the Main Street organizations in Ohio, had their annual meeting in Canton, and Wooster was nominated for an award for our Butterfly Alley project. So we were in attendance for that to support the Main Street crew on that. Unfortunately, we did not come away with winners, but it was nice to be recognized. So we were one of 3 nominees. Following day, we had a meeting with Wayne Metro, Rodney Mitchell. They've got some changes that I don't think they're ready to roll out yet, but got some interesting ideas on how to move forward to better serve the Wayne County housing issues. And then that same day, then the Chamber did their annual Wayne Economic Forum, and I know, again, many people were in attendance for that. The 17th, then, last Friday, PPM does an annual hot dog cookout for lunch, which I'm 2 for 2 this year as far as grabbing good days for that, but it's really an opportunity for them to get together. They have hot dogs, cake and ice cream, so a nice little festive affair, but what they're doing is they're girding up and getting ready to hit the leaves, because that's going to start, I think, a week from yesterday. So I believe that time of year is here, so it's kind of a time to catch our breath and get ready for that. And then we had a ribbon cutting at Christmas Run Park for the new communications board that went in there. We've talked about that for several months, and it's taken a while to actually get them in place and get them installed, and that was a very nice ceremony. Looking ahead, tomorrow we have a managers meeting. That's the every other month meeting. We also have a Worcester Growth Executive Committee meeting. We've been kind of in idling for really the last year or so, not a lot of projects on Worcester Growth, but we have a couple things bubbling up to the surface, and we need to discuss those. There's Thursday, there's a groundbreaking event at the Village Network, and we're also doing a quarterly meeting with WEDC. Friday, we're doing a podcast at one of the local restaurants. We'll see how that turns out. And then we'll also be attending the grand opening of Douglas Hall at the College of Worcester. Saturday morning is United Way's Heart and Ghoul event. If you've not participated or attended that, that's worth seeing. It's a nice event. And then Saturday night, the Worcester Bulls hockey team is having their home opener. This is up at the Galt Ice Arena, and I've been asked to drop the puck. I hope no more than that, because that is the extent of my ice abilities. And then the week following, on the 28th, there is a voting engagement event at the College of Worcester that we've been asked to participate in. Citizens Academy has been chugging along every week. Last week they did the Safety Center, 2 weeks ago, the Safety Services Center meeting. Last week, the Worcester Community Hospital, they were there for that. Tomorrow is the recreation up at Freelander Chalet. And then the week after will be the graduation event. Looking down a little further, 3 things. First of all, you should have all received the email from me, passing on information about the tours of the emergency room edition that are scheduled for December 4th. If you're interested, please respond to that. Next summer, 2 things popped up just in this past week. June 24th to June 26th, the Great Ohio Bicycle Adventure, or GOBA, is coming back through town. The route will be along the US 250 corridor as part of the Ohio 250 project. Worcester has hosted this event before in 1995 and 2004, so this is something we've done before, and it brings a lot of people to town. Again, it's just for a short time, but there are a lot of people participating. And then on July 11th, I think we all know the name Charles Follis. You may have seen the release that he was recently inducted into the Ohio Sports Hall of Fame, and just last week we got news that he was named a part of the class of 2026 for the National High School Football Hall of Fame, and there's tentatively going to be a ceremony next year in Brook Park at the Browns' new site that we've been invited to be a part of, so looking forward to that. It's not a secret that the Follis Foundation and the Follis family and the people behind that are really working to get him inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and these are all small steps towards that. So again, we'll see how that plays out. Joel, do you have a couple updates I think you wanted to provide?
The only thing I wanted to touch base on is on the operations update that I sent out on Friday. On the last page, I did mention some staffing updates, which some of we had shared, but I just wanted to highlight those. Amy's going to be transferring down to our law department, work with Andrea, which we had announced. She'll still be clerk of council, so that'll remain unchanged. Ashley Few, who's been an office manager down in our PPM division, is going to be moving up to take her spot with us, so somebody that we've worked with for quite a few years. She actually started out in the police department, and then we stole her away from Matt, and now we're going to be stealing her from Kurt down at PPM. The communication marketing manager we had mentioned quite a while ago, after a lot of interviews, we've hired Landry McLeod. Some of you may know her. She's I can't remember her title for the Orville Chamber, but she's the second commander for the Orville Chamber of Commerce, joining us on November 3rd. And doing some succession planning, anticipating some retirements. we promoted Greg Kolick and Mike Shant to captain, so they'll be working side by side with captains Nadoma and Lemon for a while. And then to fill, both of those guys were sergeants, so to fill them, we promoted Guy Bremenauer, who's been in our detective bureau, and Dan Simmons has been promoted to sergeant to backfill that, and then so we'll be then advertising to backfill those spots in the in our force. So just wanted to point those out since there's some changes there.
Looking at the agenda, we've got 11 items of new business. Only the second item, 2025-62, is budgeted. Everything else will require 3 readings or a suspension of the rules. Only the very first item is time-sensitive in that it does need to be passed by November 14, which means we have 2 meetings to get that done. The last thing I've got, hopefully you've noticed the veterans banners that have gone up downtown in recent weeks. I think we've got 98 in all is the number I got. And if you're not familiar with that, Main Street pretty much administers that program. Our people do the labor as far as getting banners hung and changed out when the right season comes. From discussions we've had with Main Street, they've had nothing but positive responses to that. I hope you're hearing the same. This project's been in the works for quite some time, if not a full year, at least most of the year, and I'm extremely happy that we were able to get those up in time for Veterans Day. So with that, Mr. President, nothing further.
All right, thank you. I'm assuming the veterans banners are going to hang until the next seasonal transition?
Veterans Day, till right after Veterans Day. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And if you didn't see the release, I mean, there is a waiting list now. They filled up the first 98 spots, if that's the right number, pretty quickly. And there is kind of a waiting list, and they'll cycle those through in future years. So if you're interested, contact Main Street, and they have a form to fill out. Yes, even though I was one at the table for the initial discussion, I did miss the initial filing from my father-in-law, so I am on the waiting list, which is a sore subject in our household, but that's the way it goes.
All right, well, thank you very much. Moving along here, we have no petitions, but we do have one individual that signed up to discuss the first item on our agenda tonight, Resolution 2025-61, regarding the ODOT Department of Transportation grant. Alex, did you want to?
Hello. I just have a comment and question. I think, comment-wise, I think it's a good idea what this is trying to do. I'm someone who doesn't always have a car available to me, so I thought this was a good thing. I just have a quick question, and maybe this will get covered at some point, but when it comes to the grant and the funding for it, is that all going to be from like the grant and the state itself, or does the city have to provide any sort of matching money or anything like that?
Well,
Question.
I can answer that.
yes, please.
So for this item, it's like some standardized language. There's a couple different grants in there. So, but general 5311 rural transit, if it's an operating cost, it's 50-50. So 50% is federal funding, and then 50% is non-federal funding. So our state house gives us some additional grant dollars, about 25 to 20%, depending on the year. So that leaves us with 70, 75, or 25% left. And then we can make up that difference with contract revenue. The fares help reduce that overall cost, and different partnerships. So it's not all strictly local revenue, but there is like a percentage of local match, and we use our CDBG funds and some different things to do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. White. Let's see, we had no committee reports, we had no public hearings, we have no unfinished business, so we'll move right on to new business. First item, Resolution 2025-61. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-61, A resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Ohio Department of Transportation by the City of Worcester for grants through the United States Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration as authorized under federal transit laws and Ohio law, executing a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation upon project approval and allowing for immediate enactment.
All right, Mr. Myers, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President. I think this is, as we've done many of these before, this is a permission to basically apply for the grant funds. They're outlined in your packet. I think Kevin actually just explained how it works. But this is basically the process of applying for it. We haven't been given this $1.1 million yet. So in order to get the application processed and in on time, I am going to open it up for discussion because I would like to move it to third reading. So I'd like to, any questions you have, Mr. White, who's been in way too many meetings with me lately, I'm sure, as far as he's concerned, but can answer any questions you might have about the application.
I just have a real quick question. First of all, I want to say congratulations because Wago looks like it is just doing an amazing job and it's such an asset to the city of Worcester. How likely is it that we will get these funds?
I think it's very likely we will get at least a portion of these. The 1.128, that's kind of what I'm looking at applying for. Now, the state's capped at, I can't remember how many million, 38 million for this allocation for this grant, and there's always more people, or there's always more ask than what's available. So we'll get probably a little bit less, but I think we're doing very well, as you said, with ridership and everything. I think we've got a very competitive system, so pretty excited, pretty hopeful that we'll get at least a good chunk of that.
And obviously, if we don't apply, we don't get any, so it's a good idea to apply.
And this is our second year applying for this. So last year we applied and we just started service. This operates on the state fiscal year, so July 1st to the end of June. So.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
If not, I'd like to make motion to move this to third and final reading so we can process the application.
All right, motion to suspend the rules and move this
Second.
along. Second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Okay. Rules are suspended. Mr. Myers?
Motion to pass resolution 2025-61.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Everybody.
Mr. Abernathy. Mr. Huzay, okay. All right. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next item, Resolution 2025-62. As the mayor had mentioned, this is a budgeted item. Mr. Malta will explain it to us, but first, Ms. Hamilton will read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-62, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the redesign, replacement, and installation of a new heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC system for portions of the water treatment plant and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So Mr. Fritz is here with us tonight to dive deep into this if needed for any reason, but pretty simple. We're going to replace the HVAC, been there 29 years. We've had some issues in the past, maybe undersized or just not operating efficiently and correctly, so the engineering department has redesigned this, and if there's any additional questions.
29 years feels like a pretty good long time.
That's a good long time, yeah.
It's survived very well. I'd say it's very well maintained, but 30 years in, it's really just the boiler for the lower level and the dehumidifiers for upper and lower levels. And that's, it's expensive, but again, it's a really large system, so.
I'd say you got more than your useful life out of it.
30 years is pretty good.
Yep.
Well, with that said, it's budgeted, so let's
Move to
have a
approve.
vote.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
All right. Motion is approved. Next item, Resolution 2025-63. This will be a three-reading item, also by Mr. Malta, but Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-63, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to exercise the city's option to renew its contract with Berkey Excavating, Inc. for lime and biosolids residual management and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is for our biosolids sludge removal. Berkey Excavating's been doing it for the last 2 years. I believe they've had a contract in the past, local excavating company. They have extended, so this would be the third year. They've extended the offer to maintain the same money for this third and final year before it has to go out to open bid.
So it's just exercising the third year of the 2024 contract for both lime, sludge, and biosolids to be hauled and landed by. They've done it for the last 2 years. The price is going to carry forward from 2024. We're not doing any price increase there, so the way the contract was bid, there's 3 years total if both parties mutually agree. And we've already asked them. They are willing to go forward for another year, and so we're going to get this taken care of now, and then when the first year rolls around, we'll be able to sign a purchase order immediately, so there won't be any gap in coverage.
Okay, so this is for 2026, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming this is going to be in the 2026 budget?
It is.
But we need to extend it now because we need to move forward on this.
Right,
Okay.
I think our contract requires us to give them like 60 days ahead of
Yeah.
time, so that they know whether to, ramp up and maintain equipment or not, and that kind of thing. So if we weren't gonna go with them, we need to be,
We have to rebid
we
it.
have to rebid it like right now, so we wouldn't have to gap it.
I remember we did this, it was like the first time we'd done 2-year or multi-year agreements for these things. It was kind of like, wow, that was a no-brainer. We should have always done this. And, yeah, so we locked in our costs. And I think the other one that we did was also a 2-year. I don't know where we are in that process, but, yeah, getting the same service at the same price. Otherwise, I'm sure if we bid it again right now, it'd probably come back more, but makes sense.
Makes sense?
Is that what you're sensing out there, is that inflation's pushing it up right now?
When we did it the last time, Berkey was the low bidder, and by a pretty decent margin. I'm sure if we go out to bid it again, the competition has kind of shrunk. Synagro's kind of bought up some of the smaller.
So less competition, you're
Yes.
looking at higher
Yeah.
prices, okay.
I think we were lucky, we got 3 bids last time on the biosolids, 4 bids on the lime sludge, and I don't know that we could do that again if we were bidding it now, so.
Okay.
If there aren't any other questions, I will move to go to third and final reading on this.
Motion to suspend the rules. Is there
I'll
a
second.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Abernathy. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes. Okay. Mr. Malta, I assume you motion to adopt?
I do motion to adopt, sorry.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Ms. Knappich?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy?
Yes.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes. Okay, very good. Our next item, Resolution 2025-64, will also be Mr. Malta. Ms. Hamilton, if you'll please read it for us.
Resolution number 2025-64, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract or contracts with the lowest and best bidders for the purchase of certain chemicals for the water treatment plant and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Malta, the floor is yours.
So I can get into the nitty-gritty on these chemicals, and I know Mr. Fritz can as well. We talked about it quite a bit today. You know, we've done this year after year. We've got to have them to treat our water.
We'd like to get it out to bid as soon as we can so that we can get the contracts ready for end of the year. So we don't have any gaps in the coverage for purchasing chemicals. We've got 30 days supply, but we don't run short on anything, obviously. So we budgeted. Last year's budget was $700,000 total for the chemicals. It looks like this year's spending is going to finish up close to $750,000, so we put $800,000 in the budget, trying to stay ahead of the inflation. And the sooner we get them out to bid, the sooner we'll know, what we're in for. So, but it's just it's the same as last year. We're just kind of rinsing and repeating. So.
Will we be looking for a multi-year agreement on this?
We haven't done that, and it's difficult. It has been difficult the last 3 or 4 years because inflation's been so crazy that
Nobody's going to commit.
we couldn't get them to commit to 1 year. I mean, there were times when they wanted to go month to month because they couldn't predict what their costs were going to be.
Okay.
So I think, for the most part, the manufacturer for the bleach and some other things is somewhat local. It's in Ohio. The lime is within a couple of states around Ohio, Kentucky and Pennsylvania. So I'm hoping that there's not going to be any influence of tariffs or anything like that on the bidding for this stuff, because everybody's really up in the air on that too. So, but again, the sooner we get it out to bid, the sooner we'll know if there's going to be a problem.
Okay.
And I assume this is the same kind of thing where we're bidding it before the budget, and then we'll budget based upon the bid?
We kind of simultaneously put the budget together and getting out the bid. Hopefully I'm guessing right, we're close.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't know how you store these chemicals, Mr. Fritz, but you mentioned the tariffs and just the fluctuating costs of these chemicals. Are they packaged in a way that we could store maybe more on hand ourselves, or do you have to kind of go 30 days at a time?
So the lime's the big thing, and the lime is what rules the whole thing because it's the most expensive thing that we feed. And we've got 2 slakers, 2 silos, and we can keep them full, but you're more or less 30 days in each, and you get out to 60 days, but really that's, you can't store any more than that on site. It's bleach doesn't age well. Most of the things that you're buying in bulk don't age very well past 30 days, so. Yeah, it's difficult to stockpile a bunch in a warehouse someplace. So.
Well, there goes that.
Sorry.
Great idea. Buy it up and stick it in a warehouse. If there aren't any other questions, and I'll let these guys move quickly on this and get it out to bid, I will motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Malta.
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules, or on the, yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Ms. Knappich,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy.
Yes.
Mr. Huzay.
Yes.
All right.
I will move to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Knappich. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Ms. Knappich,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Abernathy.
Yes.
Mr. Huzay.
Yes.
Okay. The rest of the meeting will be the Mr. Abernathy show.
Thank you.
Can we vote on that?
Well, one of the things, I mean, just
Better you than me.
per our earlier conversation, you still want to roll it that way, we'll run through them and then have a greater discussion at the end, because. Okay. It'd be basically what we've got, is we've got 7 pieces that at this point, while they're different, they're primarily, there's a lot of similar points and a lot of base items that are similar or the same. And so to make this simple, basically what we'll do with these next ones is we'll introduce them, we'll have a brief discussion, but then we'll just leave the heavy discussion for the end, because at this point, it's, like I say, it's all, I think, overall, any major discussion points are all going to center around the same parts and pieces of each piece of legislation, so. But before we do anything more, Ms. Hamilton, please read the first one for us.
Read them all, don't I? Ordinance number 2025-16, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city and area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Market S310 to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right. For this one, I believe it's going to be Apple Creek Bank downtown, if I'm correct. So, again, based on what we just discussed, we'll save the greater conversation unless anybody wants to have any specific conversation around Apple Creek Bank. We'll go ahead and leave this on the first reading.
The only question I had, which is more the specific of the location, is so they've got all 5 of those parcels then that's on here?
Correct. Apple Creek Bank has this today.
What's that?
Presently, this is owned by Apple Creek Bank and Company.
Right, but they have all 5 parcels?
Correct.
Okay.
Although that would be irrelevant to the procedure that we're looking at.
Why would it be irrelevant?
Right.
So these properties may, and we can talk about this a little bit more in detail, but these properties may transfer in the future. They may be under development today or next year. They can switch owners. What we're talking about is a tool to generate funding to support infrastructure that benefits the community, regardless of the ownership of that structure.
Okay. Am I missing, I'm looking at, well, at this point, it's never mind. Okay, well, if there's no, I guess we'll say this has had its first reading, and
Yep.
we'll save the discussion for later on then.
Yep.
All right, very good. Ms. Hamilton, please read the next ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 2025-17, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city and area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Cleveland 4782 to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, this one is for the Bell stores. So if we want to go ahead and take a little closer look at that one. You can see that parcel there, right on the corner of Cleveland Road in Smithville Western. I believe we visited that before in some past legislation, but again, for the TIF purposes, as for Bell stores.
Okay.
Any further conversation around that parcel? All right, we'll leave that on first reading.
All right, very good. At its first reading, we'll move on to the next ordinance, 2025-18. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2025-18, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city, an area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Cleveland 2695, to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Okay. Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right. That one looks like it's the car wash and laundry. Single parcel here on Cleveland Road. So is there any discussion around this particular parcel?
I'd just like to note that I will eventually have discussion on all these
Yeah.
issues, yeah. All these
My
parcels.
only specific question related to this is I noticed the first two parcels, and there's been no work that's proceeded on those parcels, whereas this one, it's 50% complete. That has no effect.
Correct. So if we remember back this time last year when we were taking a look at Spring Run, the Clear Creek subdivision, when we're talking about utilization of TIF, TIF is looking at the government's burden of providing infrastructure that's going to provide a community benefit and also benefit, incidentally, this area as well, this particular parcel. So with additional traffic, we'll be taking a look at a need to have, to accommodate additional infrastructure downstream. And so therefore, what the state of Ohio does is it has the ability for communities to establish a TIF, and you set a base year for when that is valued. So by passing legislation on any of these projects, what we're doing is we're capturing its evaluation in 2025 before it's valued with the new construction.
Okay, well, thank you.
Maybe, I think I know what you were asking. And Johnson answered it in a roundabout way, what Craig said. So for instance, we couldn't do a TIF on we can do a TIF on the properties that's going to have a Bell store on it eventually. Nothing's happened there yet. We can't do a TIF on the Dairy Queen because it's been too long ago that it's been built. So there's a time frame within which, even after something started being built, the state law lets us still go back and capture some of those increased value based on the year that it's valued. So there's a short time frame, even after they've started to build, that you can go back and capture those because the auditor hasn't gone and actually done the new value yet on that. But there's a cutoff, you can't do that. So I think that's what was being asked, why some of them we could do a TIF even though they've started construction, as long as we do it before that valuation gets set by the county auditor.
Well, to be specific, I was asking because of the situation we've had in the past with any type of CRA, where at that point, if any work proceeds prior to the request and awarding of the CRA at that point, then it's basically a moot point. So I
we'll probably
wasn't
get
sure
into
if that was a similar situation with this or not.
No, because TIFs are completely different than a CRA. And
That
we're-
sounds like a conversation
Yeah.
for at the end.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
and that's why I just,
Okay.
but,
I got you.
all right, so that one's had its first reading. Ms. Hamilton, ordinance 2025-19, please.
Ordinance number 2025-19, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city, an area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Cleveland 2775, to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit for service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, these are for some apartments. And have these apartments are they under construction yet?
Yeah,
They are under
I thought
construction,
so.
yes.
Done.
Yeah,
They're done,
almost.
almost done. So similar situation to the last one.
correct.
I think they're structured.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments? Or we want to save them?
Save them.
Save them?
They,
Okay, leave it on first reading, please.
Okay, thank you. Next item, ordinance 2025-20. Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2025-20, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city, an area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Burbank 4900, to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
All right, this is looking like Texas Roadhouse. So obviously doesn't look like anything started there. So anybody want to talk about Texas Roadhouse?
My only question, and again, I don't want to dig too deep into this, but I am curious on this one and another one with specifics of if the intent of this is to provide some type of improvement to public property, and this thing is basically, for all intents and purposes, surrounded by private property, I'm confused. I don't understand. But again, I'll ask the question. I won't expect an answer, and we can move on to the other ones. Because I'm sure there's going to be, I know there's going to be at least one other one that will have the same question.
All right, we'll leave that on the first reading.
First reading. We'll move on to 2025-21. Ms. Hamilton.
Ordinance number 2025-21, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city and area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Burbank 4855 to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Abernathy, the floor is yours.
This one will be for a Sergeant Car Wash. So, again, I'll open it up if there's any particular conversation around the specific business this might be going to. All right, we'll go ahead and leave that on its first reading.
Okay, and then our last item, 2025-22. Ms. Hamilton, if you'll please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2025-22, an ordinance declaring the improvement to certain parcels within the city, an area herein referenced as 2025 TIF Burbank 4147, to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation pursuant to ORC 5709.40B, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended and allowing for immediate enactment.
Okay. So I guess at this point, we'll dig into the meat and potatoes of most of what we want to discuss, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
So this one specifically is for what I think a lot of people in Worcester are waiting for, Chick-fil-A. But rather than dig specifically into Chick-fil-A here, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to council to go ahead and ask questions about any of the 7 that have been presented. So, Ms. Knappich, you can lead us off.
Thank you very much. First of all, I did some research, and I will admit that I have not done extensive research, and I still will do some more about TIFs, and I'm not sure how any of these fit into the standard definition of a TIF. I've got some issues concerning that. I don't see where any of these are blighted areas. I don't see where any of these need specifically development. There's already development there. There's already infrastructure there. And on my further research, it really appears kind of as if we are giving these companies tax abatements under the color of being TIFs. And I'm concerned because these are private companies. These are areas where we already have infrastructure. The TIFs made great sense to me when we were looking at housing. These do not make sense to me. My concern is also the fact that it will end up in greater taxes on surrounding businesses. Surrounding businesses do not get the same tax breaks as companies would under this TIF. And I'm not sure this is the appropriate use for a TIF.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Could I respond to that, and also maybe to your earlier comment?
Sure.
I think one of the items of confusion is the difference between a CRA and a TIF. CRA actually results in a reduction of taxes to the property owner. And we've used that as to incentivize development in different areas or different times. It is a tax incentive for the developer, in turn passed on to the homeowner or property owner, as the case may be. The TIF is not a reduction of taxes.
It's a
All the
stop
tax,
of taxes.
pardon me?
It's a static of taxes. Their taxes don't get increased. They're
No.
kept. That's
No.
what the statute says.
It's a redirection of tax, it redirects those tax dollars that would otherwise go to different sources and allows it to be used for infrastructure improvements. For example, and Spring Run is the one maybe we're most familiar with. The property owners of Spring Run are not going to see any difference in their tax bill than they would have on the paying side than they would have if there had not been a TIF. Where those tax dollars go, once it hits the treasurer's office, that's what's changed. So again, no change from the taxpayer standpoint, but how those tax dollars are used is different from a TIF and a CRA. And that kind of goes back to Mr. Sanders' question, and I think he was talking about the but-for question, which is what we've always used, when I say always, generally used in the city of Worcester as a standard for using tax abatements. Or tax incentives, is it but for this tax incentive, would this project go forward? If the answer was yes, if it was going to go forward anyways, we generally thought, well, you don't need that tax abatement then. This doesn't impact the developer themselves. It allows us, as the city of Worcester, to take some of the additional tax revenue generated from the project and use that to pay for infrastructure repairs generally, not necessarily directly related to that project, but allows us to take some of that additional funds generated from the improvement and use it for infrastructure improvements.
But it's my understanding that the company that comes in, their taxes remain static.
No.
While, all right, Jonathan, explain this.
So if I can offer a quick introduction. There are 2,715 of these throughout the state of Ohio.
Well, I understand that. I did some research.
Yeah, and so like Findlay, one of the companies or cities that we're constantly competing with, they employ this as a strategy along with Norton. We see them also in our larger metros, but Greene, Twinsburg, which is smaller than us.
How is this going to affect Worcester?
So how this affects Worcester is we just wrapped up a comprehensive plan, and we identified some amazing infrastructure that our residents suggested would be very helpful for our community's quality of life and also furthering our economic development, unlocking additional areas to encourage further development down the road. So the state of Ohio provides this type of TIF that we're talking about, a parcel TIF, for the purposes of allowing cities and townships to be able to support and encourage new development so that we can generate additional revenues for our local schools and local government long-term. And we do this by taking a project, and this is a great one up ahead of us. This is a Chick-fil-A project that is going to generate additional traffic along Burbank Road. We have about 13,000 vehicles today on Burbank Road. At peak hour, you'll have over 100 cars a day going in just at the peak hour at this restaurant.
What are the tax implications?
So the tax implications are, and we share this in our report, but like specifically for this Chick-fil-A restaurant, if we were to not do anything, what is going to happen is we would anticipate this property owner will see an increase in their tax bill of approximately of approximately $23,000 a year. So they will pay $23,000 for the right to exist there. If we create a TIF on this property, they will pay $23,000 a year to exist there. And how that works is we are using a portion of those revenues for the first 10 years to support an extension on Riffle Road. So as we have additional traffic, that 100-plus cars an hour a day at that juncture, by making that connection along Riffle Road to Cleveland Road that our comprehensive plan calls out, we can benefit that area, and we provide our residents with higher value with their infrastructure. This will allow us to be able to do a project like the Riffle Road extension that we've talked about much sooner. We'll be able to validate that if we're applying for grants, that we have some additional funding to help support that. And in turn, that opens up that area for further development, and we can show our schools an instant increase in new revenues, so they'll experience new revenues right away.
So you're telling me that the property will in fact generate new taxes, they will be assessed new taxes. What's the benefit for the Chick-fil-A?
None. Well, the benefit...
So they're going to agree to increase
so-
taxes?
We were always told that developers had to pay for the infrastructure.
So-
When Meyer was going to go into Milltown Road, we were told over and over again, the developer has to pay for infrastructure, the developer pays for infrastructure. Now you're saying, no, the city's going to pay for it, and you can pay us back through the taxes.
No,
So
two
here's-
different things, John, if you're real quick. So, for instance, when Chick-fil-A was coming, they had to do a traffic study, and they had to show whether we needed improvements at any of the intersections of the roadway there. If it would have, yeah, and if it would have been required, they would have to pay for that, regardless of whether we do a TIF or not, they would be required. Just like when the Myers, Menards, that whole development, which they submitted initially plans with traffic that assumed a Myers and Menards, a restaurant, and something else like a car wash, all of that fully developed. And that showed they needed an intersection, and they needed either a signalized intersection or a roundabout up there. So they paid 100% to have that put in. You know, the city didn't put any of that money in for that intersection that was required. So if, let's say, we were to do a TIF on the restaurant up there, that money's going to go towards other improvements, because they already paid to have that improvement. So this is additional money going for other improvements. So
So do
when
we do
Jonathan
this
put-
with all new businesses?
I'm sorry?
Do we do this with all new businesses?
We've
And
not
if-
done- we've not
And if
done-
we don't, who decided that these were the ones that were appropriate?
So we went back and looked at ones that if you look at the numbers that Andre put together, ones that would generate enough money in increased taxes, property taxes, that we could capture enough to make it worthwhile. In this case, if you add all these up over 10 years, it's $1.2 million. We'd make a dent in some of the infrastructure we're doing. If you look at those maps, Jonathan's got with engineering and pointed out, well, there's multiple different intersections and things that we would be paying for. We don't do the TIF, we're just going to pay for that out of our general fund at some point in the future. They're not directly related necessarily to that development, but they would all benefit from that. So any improvements, we do some maintenance, we do a Riffle Road extension, we do some maintenance or things on Burbank Road, that whole development, and anybody that uses that development is going to benefit from that. But we're going to use the money we're capturing from those increased taxes to help basically supplement infrastructure funds for the city. And like a lot of people have been doing this for for 15 years or so. We haven't used it as much. There's probably a couple we could have, had we looked at it in days past, but we didn't. So this was, this is being used more and more. We just completed a comp plan that shows focus areas, like we probably should, we know we're going to focus on this area of town or this area, the downtown. So Apple Creek's going to go in regardless of what we do. The infrastructure, the streetscape is not something necessarily required, and those kinds of things for them to do down there. We would still, when we do that, we would still assess it, just like we've done all the other ones, so people would pay their fair share. But there's additional money there we could use to help extend some things over into the Arts District, where the comp plan says, let's run some connections over to the Arts District, some streetscape and improvements there. We can capture money from this development that's already going to happen and use it next time we come in a year or two for infrastructure, for streetscape over to the Arts District. We've got another revenue source.
So why would we need a TIF for that? Why wouldn't we do that for every improvement?
Well, as far as that goes, we've had some changes in our development patterns, but yes, that's a fair question, and that's part of the reason why we're presenting this now, is we watch our peer communities do this when we do have something like a gas station develop. That's going to generate anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 of new revenue per year. So if we can deliver impactful infrastructure that's gone through a process similar to our comprehensive plan, that provides a really good opportunity then to get a shot in the arm that we need to raise additional funds through grants and to be able to do that project faster. so we can deliver that quicker, building up our tax base. And the stronger we make our tax base, eventually we lower the tax burden on the individual homeowner. So that's the other end that we're taking a look at this. And that's also why you don't see a reduction, but why, you know, regardless of who operates that restaurant, for example, say it's Chick-fil-A today, it's somebody else later, there's still a benefit to having a Riffle Road extension because I can get my traffic through faster on a route, especially during congested times. But legally, there's not a way that we can ever assess the cost of that to have a meaningful impact to be able to affect that project faster. So this allows, this is basically a new way of utilizing some programming that we've used before, looking at what our peers are doing, saying, well, we have a portfolio of programs, we have a portfolio of projects, we can have a portfolio of TIFs that generate revenues that allow us to move forward with some of these other impactful projects. Another thing that we're taking a look at is an erosion of some of our other grant sources. So when we take a look at this, this portfolio of 7 projects, we would estimate would generate roughly about $150,000 a year. That almost replaces our Community Development Block Grant Program, which we're looking at as being eroded in the future. We've relied on that quite a bit for funding our projects. We don't know what the future of that is.
We don't know the future of any funding.
Correct. So the question is, we'd like to be able to continue making impactful improvements that benefit quality of life, but also spur new development. Will this work? Now, in certain cases, like with Spring Run or Clear Creek, we had development agreements with the developer. And that is not required under the parcel TIF unless we were to determine as council or, you know, as you're working through things, if a specific item of infrastructure would be an incentive that we would otherwise assess, we might at that point require a development agreement committing property owners to certain levels of job performance. That is but you get into that whole basic sector, non-basic sector debate that comes up in economic development.
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask a question. Let me flip over here a little bit. I think we kind of get the tenets there. Mr. Sanders, before I flip the subject over to something different, did you have a question that you wanted to jump in on this in regards?
Well, yeah, just quickly, Riffle Road extension, what are we talking about? 6, 8, 10 million? 3 million?
Less, half of that, 3. Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about, with what we're going to do, and let's just say that we're going to use that project as the keynote project since it's been brought up. We're going to pay for half of that project after 10 years. But in 10 years, we're going to see probably a 20 or 30% increase in that, so it's probably going to be closer to 3.5, 3.75 million for that project at that time, correct?
As we work today.
It depends. If there's development that happens, if somebody comes in, you know, we'll practice concurrency, which we've done in the past, which is also, you know, have a developer pay for part of that.
But with what we've got in these 7 items, we're basically capping ourselves at $1.5 million over the course of 10 years, correct?
Just for this year. So just like we would apply for a grant, very typically when we're looking at road grants, we are at that 150K area when we're able to pull in some additional chunks of outside funds to be able to affect that. So this is comparable, but that's 150 for the next 10 years. If we can come in with additional funding, additional projects next year, and then the year after, eventually that 150 gets matched with another 150, okay?
So this isn't the end?
No, this is
This is only the begin, we're only touching, we're at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we're looking at here with these 7 items.
We're talking about a new programming of how we utilize TIF, using it strategically and building a portfolio.
Oh, I understand that. I'm not suggesting that this is willy-nilly or some other thing other than that. I mean, I'm sure that the amount of time that you spent on this is probably almost ridiculous, and to that point, that's a good thing. But, I mean, I'm not trying to degrade the work that anybody's done here. I'm just trying to put this in the most simplistic terms that an idiot like me can understand from the standpoint that, okay, we've got 7 items today that at this point over the next 10 years are going to yield 1.5 million additional to what they would do without the TIF. So then at this point, now the cat's out of the bag. Now we're going to add different ones over the next
Months.
into
years.
perpetuity to continually to increase our funding model, because we have a feeling that between state and feds, we're going to lose money over the next, again, into perpetuity, we're going to lose money.
Correct, and eventually there'll be a limit to like how much you would have in that portfolio, because as we're talking about 10 years, if we're delivering 7 projects this year, 5 the next, after a while you cap out at perhaps maybe about 30 different projects at any given time. New ones will come on.
What is the cap then?
I would anticipate that you'd probably be taking a look at a portfolio of maybe around 40 to 50 different projects by the time we would get to year 10.
And what would drive the difference between 40 and 50, the total dollar amount?
Just our level of development. Not every project will be a good candidate for us to utilize with TIF, because of, depending upon how revenues work, there's revenue sharing component here. So in the case of like a Chick-fil-A, one of the things that we would do, be required by law, is we remit a portion of income taxes that we receive from employees who've not previously worked in the city for the previous 2 years. And so on very large projects, a lot of times that can equate roughly the value of the pilots that we would generate. So in that case, we might recommend, hey, maybe we save the paperwork and skip this one, because it's not going to produce a really good return for this type of a project. Whereas you look at something like all of these, the math works out really well. Something like a gas station in particular works out very well, just again because it's a small payroll but large investment, and so and also fairly a generator of traffic flow that is going to benefit from having increased accessibility because of these projects we talk about in our comprehensive plan.
So this is the strategy moving forward then.
So this is free money that nobody loses, is what you guys are saying, but my understanding is, I think that the schools don't get there. I mean, so like you say, let's just say the apartments that are going to go in that are almost done, and now you want to do a TIF. So the apartments that are almost done would pay the amount of taxes that you said they're going to have to pay for property taxes.
Correct.
If we don't do a TIF, a portion of that property tax goes to the schools, a portion to the counties. And what we're going to do is come in and steal that money from them for those apartments in order to pay for infrastructure that we want to do.
75%.
And they're going to delay getting their income tax, their property taxes until we get our money back for these pet projects that we want to do for improvement.
And they can't get a levy passed, it's not even
Right,
close.
that was
Right,
next.
so basically, we're going to pull the rug out from under them on those apartments.
So none of this is done without the school being part of our conversation. So all of this, schools have been part of this process before that was,
I
before.
just want to make sure everybody's clear that it's not like free money, it's being taken away from other
Right.
people who would normally get it.
And generally speaking, what I hear from the
It's
schools,
bull.
when we get the response from the schools, is we don't have a position on this. And I think it would be difficult for the superintendent and the board to say, we don't have a position on this, but we're willing to give up this money when we can't, when we need all these things and we can't pass a levy.
I certainly don't doubt that they're part of the conversation. I believe that. What I'm getting is that there's some cringing when they see this. Whether they come out and say it publicly, I don't know. That's up to them. What I can say privately is there's cringing.
What the schools have typically, because if you remember, you guys have been around for a long time, we were doing 100% CRAs downtown to try to, get reinvestment going downtown. And in that case, the schools were absolutely giving up money, when we were directing 100% and they were paying less taxes. So this is not that.
But
Usually
were
what
they
do
paying less property tax?
I'm sorry, what?
With the CRA, they were paying less property
Yeah.
tax?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 100%. And so, but we were good partners, they were good partners, and it's like, we understand long-term. Now, I will say, they were getting less property tax during the period of that CRA. Now, most of those have run out. All those buildings are generating exponentially more property tax than they were before that.
Very few businesses downtown have kids in the schools. I mean, apartment buildings and other developments, the
Correct.
schools are going to have to take care of those
Right.
with
So what the
increased
schools are-
costs.
So what the schools are enjoying now is 10 times, 20 times the amount of income tax, or sorry, the amount of property tax that now, because it's post-abatement for all those downtown developments, than they were before, or if those hadn't happened. So, because you just pick out a building downtown that was run down, where the Fleet Feet was, literally pigeons living in it, generating nothing, as far as property tax.
But that's not the circumstance we have here.
No,
These are all existing
but I'm
businesses.
getting there. My point is, even when we were doing that, they've always looked long-term and saw, we're gonna make more money in the long run than we were otherwise. So they were strategic enough to recognize that back 20, 30 years ago when we started the CRAs downtown. And even if you look at these, they're getting on the one property, 14,000. Post-abatement, they're gonna get $25,000, $26,000.
But if it was going to happen anyway, they'd get 26,000 right away. And that we're just trying to delay it.
And I would go even a little softer, just saying that maybe the circumstance recently has just changed, because again, they've tried 2 levies recently, and they've failed. And they're still trying to figure out creative ways to get the new building built. And so if we come in with this TIF on 7 zones, and we're going to peel that money away, that could restrict the ability for them to get where they need to go. So this, I'm not saying that they don't think long-term, I'm just saying that it could restrict their ability to get to that new building. That's all I'm saying. And so, it's going to be, and I still put the burden back onto the school board and to the superintendent. They need to put their voice on this, and it can't be we have no comment. Because if they have no comment, then I think it's imperative to us to say, okay, what's best for the city, and then we vote for what's best for the city. So the school board has to do their part and actually voice an opinion.
So we do ask for comment. I will say that in our conversations, out of that 2,700 TIFs that are out there, over 2,000 of them are 100% TIFs. And as far as their terms, nearly 2,000 of them run 30 years. So we might ask the question, well, why don't we do a 30-year, 100% TIF? And that's part of what we're taking a look at in terms of...
Well, the school would have to approve it at that point.
Well, they would have to approve it, but the question that we have to ask ourselves is that our taxpayers and the school district's taxpayers are one and the same. So what I gather from our conversations is that we, from a city perspective, certainly can and need to appreciate that our schools are incredibly important for our economic development. It's the #1 reason why any family is going to decide whether to be in city limits or out, is the quality of our schools. That I can say unequivocally, and that's gospel truth. But at the same time, same token, our school district has shown us that they understand and appreciate that their taxpayers also enjoy and benefit high-value quality infrastructure. So it really comes down to a philosophical question. We have now completed a comprehensive plan. We have some really incredible infrastructure projects. If, by doing this, we can deliver those projects faster, does that benefit the tax base quicker than us doing nothing?
But the school has also done a comprehensive plan, and we are going to peel away funds from them to complete their comprehensive plan. But again, I'm not going to argue that with you. I'm just going to reiterate my point, that they're going to need to fight for that. Because again, if they're unwilling to fight for it, then I'll sit here and say, we're going to do what's best for the city, and your point will likely win. So I'm imploring, if anybody from school board is watching, if you care about this issue, you need to fight for it. If not, we're going to do what's right for the city, and you're making a good stance here that the infrastructure plan for the city is what's best.
Jonathan, when the school board was consulted on the last TIF that we did, and we built the 91 residences up there, and we gave them a return payback, this is going to be $8.6 million of infrastructure to do these pro improvements, and I think I've got charts where you said, hey, depending upon the speed at which this is developed, they'll be paid back in X number of years, and then they'll get their full amount of the tax benefit after the TIF's paid back, $8.6 million. As soon as that's paid back, they're going to get the full amount.
I'm sorry, what's that?
As soon as the 8.6 was paid back based on the speed at which it was developed. And I
Correct.
think you had like 6 charts or whatever in that
Yeah.
proposal. But now you're looking at adding another roundabout for $5 or $6 million, so you're going to kick that can down the road. They won't be getting their money like we promised when we did that TIF. We're going to add to that dollar amount, and they're going to be delayed. So my point is, we kind of changed the rules on that one, and
We can't. We cannot change those rules. So that would have to be done with their consent if we're using any of their revenues for additional, if you're talking specifically about Oak Hill, let's say if it gets rapidly developed and, hey, there's a lot more revenue here than we thought that there would be, now we have money to do an additional roundabout, we can't use their revenues for that. It sunsets at $8.6 million. Now, if there are situations
so
that,
everything that was done in that TIF zone is 8.6, and that's done, complete, can't be changed.
correct, unless
Okay.
there would be some
That's
sort
good,
of,
then.
yeah, I
We
mean,
can't do we can't do the peanut roundabout on that TIF.
that's governed by an agreement. So as far, well, at least not with the school district revenues. Mathematically, until you would have everything developed, with that particular funding structure, you would need to have the school district's written consent to be able to do something like that.
Well, so I guess that's my question, what I keep coming back to. This is the strategy moving forward for the city. What are the parameters? Jonathan, you already mentioned we're going to do 10 years, but we could do 30 if we wanted to. And I wouldn't want to see that change or that flex back and forth, or let's say we decide 5 years from now we don't want to extend Riffle Road, we want a roundabout there instead. But are we tied to that project now?
No.
Based on, I mean, it's all, let's use Chick-fil-A, it's all over the verbiage of the Chick-fil-A one.
So within the legislation, you'll see an Exhibit B, and that details all the infrastructure. Now, the one thing that we'll need to be able to do is to show that that improvement has a benefit to the area, and including that parcel that's being TIFed. So if we're doing if we're taking revenues from Chick-fil-A to do a dog park in downtown, that's going to be extremely hard to justify. How is that benefiting that region?
Well, so how is the Bell Store at Smithville Western benefiting the?
Riffle Road.
Well, no,
Or
it's
any of the
it's
improvements.
earmarked for the kidney in front of the hospital.
No, Bell Store would be Riffle Road because of proximity. So at that point, you're
That's not what I said.
getting a little far away from where the kidney at the hospital would be. But what you are talking about doing with Bell Store is enabling their next nearest intersection to come into existence with additional access to Burbank Road. Getting, the heart of your primary market area traffic closer to your route that you can hopefully have additional customers from. So that's why a Riffle Road extension would be beneficial for a Bell Store. Again, not something that we could assess on a Bell Store, but it would be beneficial for them. Whereas the kidney, by the time you'd get to the kidney, you've crossed multiple different intersections, and that's maybe a little too far away from the corridor to be able to justify that. We would want to have a nexus to the project. And if it turned out that, hey, we decided, we changed our minds, we don't need that extension anymore, and we don't really have any infrastructure, then you sunset the TIF and you remit all of those funds within that fund to the different taxing districts. So a portion of it would come back to the general fund, a portion of it would go to the county, a portion of it would go to the schools. So if we don't use it, that's where it would go. Each one of these items of legislation sets up their own individual account that will be within the city budget and something that's looked at annually. Additionally, our school district will be on our Tax Incentive Review Council. They'll be reviewing, okay, each of these 7 projects, along with Clear Creek, along with Spring Run, and they'll be looking at what was the infrastructure improvements that benefit these areas, what was invested, how much was invested, and from that, we would expect to show some accountability to demonstrate to the public as well as to our partners at the schools that we've delivered good infrastructure that's made an impact in the community, again, improving quality of life and opening up additional development opportunity to strengthen that tax base. And if we cannot do that with our comprehensive plan projects, then that would be a reason not to look at a program like this.
So is that how you determine what projects to use based on the comprehensive plan and their proximity to the comprehensive plan ideas and where they would go? Because otherwise, I don't understand how you came up with these projects.
Well, as you said, those are the target projects. Yes, they are based on their geography to key projects that we identified in the comprehensive plan. And
I'd like to know which key projects correspond with what.
So those are in the legislation. So that specifically written down for this one, Riffle Road. You'll see in the other items the specific target project that we're taking a look at. So when it comes to something like the laundromat car wash closer to the kidney, again, that's getting close in proximity, so you're going to be dependent on relaxed traffic flows through that area. So that's going to, and you'll see that here up on the screen. So the way that the legislation's provided, it does provide flexibility for the future, but we wanted to very specifically, because we want to be strategic here, to call out these specific comprehensive plan projects. The whole purpose of TIF is to deliver something that's new and impactful. Yes, you might be able to do a dog park in downtown with it, but that's not the spirit of the law, and that's not the way that we would recommend providing that, which is why you see that comprehensive plan project for each one of these legislative items outlined in bold there.
Question, did you recently revise this comprehensive plan to different focus areas by chance? Because I'm trying, maybe I'm reading too much into this.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Road in the comprehensive plan, where does that fall? Because
So
in any of the
within-
plans I've seen, Cleveland Road seems a bit outside of any of the focus areas that we've had in the past. I get Smithville Western up in that area,
Mm-hmm.
that has been a focus area in past comprehensive plans. But I'm just kind of looking through the last comprehensive plan I saw, and I don't, maybe you can stretch that into the hospital district, but not really. I'm trying to look at the focus areas of like a broad comprehensive plan of what kind, I don't understand the comprehensive plan you keep talking about, so I'm digging into the last comprehensive plan you guys gave us.
So in our 2024 comprehensive plan, we have a series of focus areas. This is on our website. Great document that just...
I'm looking at it, I bring it with me.
Yes, so as you go toward, as you go through that, they identify several focus areas: our downtown arts district, our East Liberty district,
Hospital, Smithville Western, and Guyers Chapel.
Guyers Chapel, and you'll also see the Riffle Road extension in there. And that's, I'm trying to remember the specific name. We did not name that Cleveland Road. It is our north end.
All right.
And within the memo that we shared, we also provided the page reference for each of those. But we have a couple different maps depicting how Riffle Road would be extended to develop that connection between Burbank and Cleveland. And again, the reason why that is important for the public and for our primary market area is to, again, relax some of the traffic flows along what is really our heaviest traveled corridor. And the more that we can alleviate that congestion, it makes it more inviting, and again, it provides a benefit to all those businesses on that corridor. Most of our peer communities, when we're taking a look at how TIF will be utilized, generally they will identify specific corridors. So they'll take a main stretch and they'll say, okay, everything on corridor X will be utilizing TIF as new development starts. and we're going to be using that to repay bonds or debt service. Now, here, we're not recommending that we look at that 100% 30-year model. We don't think that it's really fair to our school district partners. We don't see a strong benefit. We also don't want to saddle ourselves with debt for 30 years. And we want these funds going into projects, not into bank interest. So that's why 10 years, 75%, while it's smaller than most communities, it's the right fit, we feel, for Worcester and to get the benefit that we need for our mutual taxpayers.
You mentioned as an example that, it has to be proximate to the property, and we can't put a dog park downtown, and so
It does,
some of these don't seem as proximate as others. I mean, the apartment buildings on Cleveland Road, you want to use that money to put the roundabout at Winkler, Oldman, and Burbank? And that seems a
We
little bit, that
identified-
sounds like a dog park downtown to me. It's a stretch.
We identified nearest major agglomerations of intersections. So we're looking for that one. We have the Kidney roundabout for the hospital would be our target. So it can go toward...
That's the Cleveland Bell roundabout?
That is the roundabout that our engineering department recently won an award from, for grant funding for design. So I believe our last council meeting, we had approval for issuing design work on that. So this would, the intent again of this
I
would be...
just asked which one you're talking about. I wasn't at the last.
Oh,
meeting. Is that
I'm
the
sorry, I'm
Cleveland
talking about
Bell?
the kidney in front of the hospital.
Okay,
The other thing...
That's not the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Under the project for the apartments, you have a Cleveland Bell roundabout for $6,575,000.
Okay.
And then you also have Winkler, Oldman, Burbank Road roundabout. I think we've talked about that a few times before.
Correct.
For 3.2. But you're tying it to the apartment buildings that are, again, almost completed on Cleveland Road.
Correct. So...
Seems a little bit far.
Well, that's again going to
I'm
be...
telling her, because
Parameters.
those two are not within, they kind of sandwiched in between Smithville Western focus area and the hospital district. It feels a bit out of that zone.
Quite a bit. And it's already in a TIF district. It's already geographically, that roundabout's in a different TIF district that we established 2022.
So that's there again to just emphasize the level of public investment that's needed to affect these infrastructure items. The other element that comes into play is anytime we would utilize TIF through a to be able to utilize the funds, we would expect to make that part of the budget as well. So council would see where these funds are going. But we do have millions of dollars worth of infrastructure that our comprehensive plan has outlined. Again, we're taking a look at our future availability of grant funds. We're taking a look at what our peers are doing and what we are not doing. And we felt that this was a good opportunity to present. And the route that we have here, again, measuring the interests that, the effectiveness and also at the same time trying to protect our partners. Ultimately, this, again, is intended to be able to generate additional development which lowers the tax burden on our residents and gets our school district partners and our local government to a healthier financial state.
All right.
One more thing.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about ifs. And Mayor Reynolds has brought up that what if property taxes go away in the state of Ohio?
Correct.
What happens?
You will not have TIF.
Exactly. So we're
So-
spending future tax dollars, hoping that in the next 10 years, as we continue 10 years further out, that we'll have property taxes.
I imagine...
But if we don't,
Yeah.
and we throw these 7 in there, and then 30, 40, 50 more, and at any of those points, property taxes go away, do we have a plan? Or have we considered that? Only because Mayor Reynolds has brought it up multiple times in this council chamber.
Yeah, there is a proposal right now, extremely simple proposal going around the state, attempting to get on the ballot, talking about the abolition of property tax. That would make us, I think, the only state in the union not to effectively have that. So that would, across the board, say that the state of Ohio will not have taxes. So if that were to pass, I would think that we'd have many different problems. But as far as a strategy here, that's one of the reasons why we want to be careful about putting ourselves into debt. So we want to be able to secure some funding, have that grow, and then be able to execute the project with some measured visibility.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, if I could address that a little bit. These proposals only deal with the revenue side for us. Again, it is a strategy. We're looking to create another revenue stream for the city. There's no spending component to this. So when you say, and is there another strategy if this source goes away, that's a question that, if we're talking about spending on projects, that's very appropriate. Saying, okay, well, how are we going to pay for this project? But what we're talking about now is just creating the revenue stream. And again, this is not big money, as Mr. Sanders pointed out. This is relatively small potatoes, $124,000 a year with these projects. But we'd be looking to do similar things every year with appropriate projects. And again, with the concern about losing future revenue streams, this would be one new revenue tool that would allow us to set aside money for infrastructure improvements. The spending side, as we've talked many times, that's totally in the hands of council to make spending decisions. And when a project comes along, one of the questions council always asks and should ask is, how are we paying for this? So, does that help?
So I guess it only makes an issue if we were saying we were going to issue debt for all of these projects. And that's not part of this proposal at this time. So to give you an example, if we proceeded with the Apple Creek. If we proceeded with the Apple Creek Bank TIF and we use that for streetscape, typically, if we issue debt on that, we issue debt for the portion that's going to be covered by the assessments that get paid back by the individual property owners. And that's the only portion that we issue debt on, is just short-term to cover until property owners pay their assessment on that. So.
Understood.
So
if that.
So that would be, my suggestion, if Andre agrees with me, is if there are any of these projects, if they were to move forward, we just simply wouldn't issue debt. That would be.
And you just pay for it.
We'd be counting on this to pay for. And to Bob, the mayor's point, for each individual project, that's a pretty small amount anyway. It wouldn't, I don't want to say.
You're not counting on that money.
Correct.
So let me ask the hypothetical then. So let's say that property taxes do get removed. How do we unwind ourselves from, let's just say it happens next year. So we got two major TIFs right now and then these 7. So how do we unwind ourselves from those? I mean, what's the process in that?
If the property tax were to disappear, just like with any other element, it would just be a source of revenues that we were.
I'm not talking about the revenue, I'm talking about I'm assuming there's some type of legislation piece that we would have to enact in order to unconnect ourselves from that.
No, it would just go away. And in that very extreme scenario, it would just simply go away. There would not be. If you don't have the authority to tax, then this disappears.
So,
just like anything else, just like the ability to do assessments, the ability to do things like PACE, ESID financing, all of that would just disappear.
So, but my point is, buried in this these pieces of legislation is $6.2 million for the roundabout at Winkler, Oldman, and Burbank Roads. And we build it, let's say you build it next year, and then the property taxes go away. How do we get that paid back?
So with every infrastructure project that we do, we're going to want to take a look at sources and uses of funds.
This is your source, right?
So this will not be our only source. This is
It's going to
capital.
be more than 6.2 million?
What's that?
It's going to be more than the 6.2 million?
This is not going to generate anywhere near that amount, but
But that's the two project, you're tying these two projects to that, and you're getting approval to do this $6.2 million roundabout.
we'll be coming back for official approval on use of funds at a later date if this is made available. But as far as where this portion of funding would go, it would disappear. Chances are, because of property taxes making up 20% of our budget, that a lot of other things are going to be happening at that time as well. But there would be a reallocation of funds to cover any expenses that we would have as a result of that. For the most part, we would not.
I don't know if Jonathan can answer that. That might be a,
I mean, we're talking about very unlikely hypotheticals, but again, like if property tax did not exist, this just would not be a topic to even venture on.
we'd have bigger troubles than a roundabout at that point.
Yeah, so to use that example,
I'm not even using the roundabout as an example, right, just overall.
but any example, let's say $1 million project, it was on the budget.
Leaf collection.
Yeah, exactly, but let's just say we had $1 million project, a roadway project or something, and we were coming to you next year and say, we want to do this project. We always tell you, here's how we anticipate funding it. There's, none of these projects are a significant amount, say $100,000 that they would generate over 10 years is going to be a small amount. That would just be one small piece of revenue to pay for whatever that project was, $1 million, $2 million project. So obviously, we would have other sources we would be presenting to council to approve to pay for that project. This would just be a little piece, of it. But when you add them all up, these projects over 10 years, 1.2 million, that's a decent amount of money that we thought was worthwhile trying to capture to help pay for some of those improvements.
If all of these combined only generate 1.2 million, why do you list a $6.4 million roundabout in the documents?
That would be a project for which you could use some of this money towards. So, $100, $200, $300,000 over 10 years towards that project, I don't think is insignificant to lower the amount of general fund money that we'd be using for that. That was our thought anyway, that it was significant enough to present to council for consideration.
Yeah. So like when we're looking at Findlay, Green, Norton, places like that, again, we feel that that's a very strategic way to help support their community to, part of the reason why they're doing well, again, is being able to deliver that infrastructure, and they're building up their tax base and they're building up their schools as they do that. This is not a tax break. This is merely us taking the ball for a little bit and running to effect new infrastructure that makes a permanent improvement in that community so that you have a stronger tax base going forward.
What's the implications of creating like the TIF districts on the parcels themselves? So specifically like the Apple Creek Bank, I don't know why they would agree to that in the first place, because I would assume it'd be eligible for CRA, downtown revitalization.
We typically haven't done CRA for community banks, and we, outside of like doing like rehabilitation type work, so when it's a new facility, somebody like CSV, they've gone ahead, they've built their own structure without tax exemption. They have another program that incidentally is also called CRA, where you're supposed to be making an investment to help benefit your community. So our community banks typically don't look toward that. That doesn't mean that they don't want that or would not take that with the opportunity if it came to them. But in a case like this, utilizing TIF does give us the ability to help support a project like that by wrapping it into the downtown with more quality streetscape. TIF is, when we're talking about parcel TIF, this is not with consent of the property owners. So again, that's why when we were talking before about, who owns the property, it really becomes irrelevant in the conversation, because the city has to take a look at, is there going to be development here? And if so, does public infrastructure benefit this area? And does it create a demand on public infrastructure?
So then I guess why would we do this in the CRA zones anyways if we don't know that Apple Creek Bank will go there? Aren't we just taking that group of parcels off the table?
So I can talk
CRA?
offline, I'll talk offline with you about this very specific project, but if you do TIF a project, you do still have the option to provide a CRA after the fact. It just means that you will not have any TIF revenue because your CRA will exempt, your CRA provides a tax break. So you can create a TIF and say, all right, we're going to redirect revenues from here to pay for public infrastructure. And then you can come back later and you can say, oh, hey, we've got a competitive project, we're going to provide CRA. That's fine, you can do that. And some communities will actually do both on very impactful major downtown projects. But what it means is you're going to be generating a lot less on the TIF because it's going to be exempted first. But some communities will do both for the right project.
Jonathan,
So are we going to
doesn't
TIF Jared's new warehouse then?
No, well, in this case, no, that would not be a fit for how that project came about. But had they not utilized CRA to the extent that they did, or, I'm sorry, Enterprise Zone to the extent that they did, TIF could be an option up there, yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the return to the city depend upon the increase in the property value and the tax value that the improvements make? And isn't that the money that we're going to use for any improvements? And have we done calculations with respect to what those increases would actually be?
Correct, that's what's up on the screen, yes. And we performed this for each project. We also provide this to our city schools. We're not required to provide this detail, but I think it's like, just for how you brought it up, I think it's very important to know that. So we do have that together, and we do share that with our partners as part of our conversations with utilizing this, so that they can see how we're coming up with our estimates, and that we've also taken the time to think about what that would mean for us, but also for them. So, for example, one of these projects, we're taking a look at, with some of these new developments, we map out, the schools would anticipate would receive, like, let's say a typical restaurant, you'll receive roughly $4,000 of new revenues that you weren't receiving before.
Property tax.
Property tax. You'll receive an additional $8,000 in shared new income taxes. So,
Which these are mainly minimum wage jobs, so.
But it would amount to about $8,000 at that. So it is still impactful, it's still creating an opportunity, and it's still creating demand in the market. And then that has the effect for all of us of helping to, hopefully boost wages, which we want to see for our residents. So the net that the school district receives then is $13,000 while it is exempted. I'm sorry, while the TIF is in place, I'm sorry. So while the TIF is in place, they would see $13,000, and then when the TIF expires, they would then see $17,000, and that would be
So
it.
we would use the increase in the property taxes first, and then the school would get the increase in the property taxes when the TIF expires, is that correct?
The school district will enjoy at least 25% of the new revenues. In some cases, they may approach closer to 80 to 90% of the new revenues. It just depends, again, on payroll, because we share those revenues. If we're doing really well, we can share with them. So it just depends.
Which is great if we've got high-paying jobs. These
Correct.
are minimum wage jobs.
Well, your typical ressrestaurant will occasionally come very close to covering that. I mean, and it's one of the questions we would anticipate, if we do this program, 5-6 years from now, we may not recommend having a Chick-fil-A in here, because the amount of revenues that you would end up sharing would outweigh the amount of property tax.
Probably not a lot of payroll tax for an apartment building.
Correct.
A lot of money
No,
to
no.
share there, so we're just basically taking that money then from them.
State law encourages communities, townships, and cities to utilize this program to do new infrastructure. So if we're following that spirit of the law and we are delivering to our schools good infrastructure that generates new development that supports them, in this case, Kidney Roundabout at the heart of our city, at the hospital district. If we can deliver on that, then we're living up to the spirit of the law. If we are just using it for maintenance or a funding stream, then no, that would not be within the spirit. And I would imagine that anybody would call us out on that when this gets reviewed annually.
Can you TIF, you made the comment, Jonathan, that you can TIF without property owner's consent. So,
Correct.
So I guess where does it stop? Can we TIF a $1 million home that gets built on the north end?
No, because that's not commercial. So
It
that,
has to be commercial.
Maybe we should TIF the new ER department for the hospital.
And I guess my
they're
feeling.
tax exempt, so.
Well, and I guess my feeling is too, what makes a TIF special if you can TIF any commercial property? I mean, I read through the materials, and again, I have more research to do, but there are certain criteria that the TIF was established to address. I mean, can we put a TIF on all the commercial property in Worcester?
It may not be practical to do all. Again, you want to be able to TIF properties where they will have a benefit from increased traffic circulation or some other increase in service.
Well, that would probably be every business. I mean, every business wants to have good.
You could to a degree. Some communities will use this and say, hey, we're going to go fund improvements to our water plant because this new business is going to generate an incremental increase in service, so we will utilize that for our water treatment plant. That is a legit, legal, and proper use of it. However, again, the spirit of the law is that we do something that is building up revenues for everybody when the project is done. And so for that reason, ultimately, again, this will have to be part of the budget conversation annually going forward, because each one of these will feature as its own item in the budget, the properness of the infrastructure that we are funding. So again, that's why you see this being focused with these details on this specific, and focusing on the comprehensive plan elements as opposed to saying, hey, we just want to do general maintenance.
I understand that. It's just my reading of it. Again, it was just cursory reading, is to address, to increase economic development and to address blighted areas, to address economically undeveloped or underdeveloped areas.
So to Mr. Huzet's point on the house, one of the unique features that we haven't utilized TIF before is you can use it for blighted housing. So blighted housing, outside of the residential incentive districts that we've done, you can use this flavor of parcel TIF to do housing
Right.
that's
So
blighted.
That's not what I was talking about at all. What I was talking about was commercial. Generally speaking, this has been used to redevelop blighted areas.
I would say not with the majority of projects on the state. Again, with the 2,700 that are out there, our top producing ones, again, we're taking a look at places like Dublin, places like Greene. This is all new suburban infrastructure that they're establishing. And so, again, we're taking a look at our peer communities that we're similar in size to, looking at how they're utilizing this, and we're just asking the question, can we be more strategic and mindful with how we're utilizing our tools so that we can provide for the best level of service and infrastructure for our residents. So it's, if we look at Department of Development, they actually list all TIFs that are in existence. We're on there as well. We're 7 of that 2715. We have 7 of those. But it is not restricted to blight. There are 21 different ways, or I apologize, it might be 22, different ways that you can apply TIF and different statutes that you can utilize for it. Some are going to be focused on blight. Some are going to be focused on lack of infrastructure. Some are going to be focused on general improvements. And so what we're looking at when we're looking at Section B of this code, we're taking a look along what most people would describe suburban development. We're looking at improvements that we can make that, again, make that area more accessible to those parcels. How do we improve road and traffic flow through our hospital area so people can get up and down that Cleveland Road corridor to these
So
destinations.
people can get to the gas station and laundromat?
What's that?
So people can get to the gas station and laundromat?
So if I'm the developer of the laundromat, I'm saying I have an easier traffic flow. I have hopefully more traffic. I have hopefully an easier time with people accessing my site. I'm an easier spot to get to because I don't have this crunch point that maybe kept people from coming out and venturing over to my area before.
All right, I want to go ahead and wind this down. We've covered a lot of ground, but I do want to finish with one question for Mr. Montgomery. You're the one that's tied, you keep track of what's going on in Columbus. And I don't for 1 minute think that the voters of Ohio will vote down property tax. I think they at least understand that really funds villages, townships, fire and police in those areas. But we have discussed that there is movement within the Ohio General Assembly, the Senate, and with the governor, that they do want property tax reform. How do we react if there is significant property tax reform, though? It's not gone, but it changes quite a bit. And it could, like Jonathan says, hey, if property taxes go away, well, TIF goes away. Well, let's just say they don't go away, but it's significantly changed.
Reduced.
And it's reduced. How do we combat that? What does that look like?
And can I jump in real quick, just because?
Boy, he stole your thunder, Joel. I really want to talk to you about this.
I'll just say the real short part of it. In the big sense, I absolutely hope you're right in the overall property tax is going away entirely. But I think we talked about this before. The cities get a very small slice of that. We do. And there's a real possibility that our slice could go away entirely. So I'll just leave it at that. So, I sure hope you're right. I think the chances of property taxes going away entirely for everybody is small, but there is a chance that changes will be made that would take away the slice we get. So I'll shut up after that.
Yeah, so.
So we
I
would
tried
take
to-
more from the schools, like we're doing here.
So some of it has to do with, that 20 mil floor you hear him talking about a lot. Our schools are already there, so you won't see a significant change for us. Based on everything I've seen so far that's been submitted by the legislature, which seems to line up pretty well with what the governor's task force has also recommended, and also what the OML has recommended. They gave a list of things. Most people were in favor of some kind of property tax reform. I would say we are as well, to a degree, when it makes sense. But the one thing that they left off, that they were talking about during the budget cycle, was the elimination of inside mills. So that's not part of that, and that's all we get is inside mills.
Right.
So that's not part of the packages that they submitted that I'm aware of to date.
So we would be protected.
So it would be no real change for
Okay.
us. I mean, maybe there'd be some minor stuff when they start capping, and giving more, exemptions and things like that. But for the most part, it's what, 9-10%? Is that right, of our budget?
The
Property, inside.
Yeah, 9%.
Yeah, so, if you look at it from that perspective, even if that all went away, the city's pretty healthy right now. And we would just plan ahead, and make sure we accounted for that. It would probably take 4 years or so for us to, if that completely went away, for us to figure out how to redirect and make up and, be lean for a while, that kind of thing. But right now, I'm not aware of a proposal by the legislature that would completely eliminate the inside mills, which is what we do.
Okay. Well, with that, after long debate, we'll leave that on first reading.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our miscellaneous. We had one person sign up for that, Mr. Barnett.
Good evening. I signed up because of the hearing impaired. I am hearing impaired. I only have 5 to 10% in my right ear. I come to these meetings. Tuesday morning, you know what I do? I get my coffee and get my phone, watch YouTube so I see what I missed. I'm not going to pick on anybody, but there's a lot of you I don't hear. Everybody needs to take a lesson. I can hear him all night long. But anyhow, all I want to do is let you know, that's why I talk so loud too. I want you to let you know there is a telecoil loop. They have it down at the Methodist Church. Most places that have public hearings have this in the bigger cities. You go in and there'll be a symbol. It has an ear, shape of an ear, and 2 arrows in it. The Methodist Church down here has it. When I walk in the room, I pull out my phone, hit a button, and it goes right to my hearing aids. I can hear everybody then. I would suggest the city looks into that, and I was wanting to bring it to your attention. I don't enjoy watching you Tuesday morning, but it would be nice to hear what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll start off with Mr. Huzay.
Fun, lively discussion today. We have a lot to chew over, and hope everyone has a safe Halloween. That is all, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Mr. Abernathy.
Jonathan, good work taking the bullets tonight, buddy. So that'll leave it at that. You took a lot of bullets tonight. I know it's a tough conversation. There's still a lot of questions to be answered, but you got grilled tonight. You took it like a champ, so appreciate it.
Ms. Knappich.
Yep, I think this was very fruitful, very informative discussion tonight. I am very impressed with all the really great questions from everybody on council. Proud to be a part of this group. And Jonathan, yep, thank you, appreciate that. Go home and have a ice water or whatever it is that you have when you go home. But, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you.
Mr. Gaffey.
Yeah, just really appreciated the conversation there, taking notes for next time. So just also really appreciate the veterans banners downtown. That was a nice addition, and it's nice to see those and read those driving around our downtown area. That's about it for me.
All right, thank you. Mr. Malta.
Thank you. Yep, thank you all for attending and listening to us talk for a very long time. We appreciate that. And all those on YouTube as well. I do want to say thank you for those banners. I do have a friend's father that just passed away Thursday, and he is up downtown. So it hit home pretty hard, but it's great. Thank you.
Mr. Myers.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for the debate back and forth, and I have better understanding. And yeah, Jonathan, thank you for clarifying a lot of different things. We appreciate that. I just want to encourage people, the Boys and Girls Club here of Worcester is having their annual dinner on November 7th at Greystone. The theme this year is going to be walk in their shoes. I can spill the beans. There's going to actually be a 7-foot by 7-foot shoe that the Romic Foundation is building for the event. So there's going to be some fun things. So if you can, to support that event, again, it's 5:30 Greystone on November 7th. And so if you get a chance, that should be a fun night. So motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.